And joining us now to discuss this is Rudik, Ukrainian MP. Hello, madam, and welcome to TVP World.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
Now, we are looking at the situation where President Zelenskyy appealed for a peace summit and the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, and yesterday made a significant call to President Joe Biden and President Xi Jinping, urging them both to participate in peace summit scheduled in Switzerland for June. This all, of course, comes also amid reports suggesting that Vladimir Putin might be open to a ceasefire and negotiations in Ukraine, but of course there is a skepticism and, a real one at that, about the sincerity of this proposal, with, of course, concerns that it might be a strategic move rather than a genuine step towards peace. So, having all of that in mind, how do you see this situation?
First of all, we had at least 2 major attacks on Kharkiv within the last couple of days. The first attack was on the printing station, where 40% of Ukrainian books were printed, and it was completely destroyed by a Russian missile. Second was attack over the weekend on the department store, where people were just going to buy stuff for their homes with their families, and 16 people were killed in Kharkiv. So tell me this, do you think that the person who committed that is going for ceasefire or for peace or for anything? We do not think so. Russia has very open intention to destroy Ukraine and Ukrainians, and we need to stop them from doing that. This is why President Zelenskyy is setting up the peace summit and calling on to as many allies as possible to join it, because this summit will be a bigger table where everybody could have a seat at. So we as expanded community can discuss on how to stop Putin and how to make sure that we are still working with the power of law and not the law of power. This is why it's so important to have China on board, because we anticipate that their pressure can really help us in stopping Putin. This is why it is so important to have high-ranking representation from the United States. And this is why President Zelenskyy was calling for President Biden to join. We need to show that the support for Ukraine is growing, and that more countries that were neutral beforehand are joining us and saying we need to stop the war, we need to stop the aggressor.
Right, and I mean, perhaps I am mistaken. I hope that I am mistaken, but it seems that, Joe Biden will not be in attendance. It is quite likely. It is also likely that Xi Jinping will also not accept the invitation. So I wonder, with these 2 key politicians missing, how viable will be the discussions, and also why? Because President Biden went to Kyiv, right? I mean, at the start of the Russian invasion, he even, went to Kyiv personally. He was there on the ground. So I wonder why he wouldn't make it to this summit in Switzerland.
Well, I guess we need to hope that there would be as high representation as possible, and even if it would be not a president who is right now in the middle of his presidential campaign, then there would be at least a higher representation of somebody who can make the decisions. However, let me give you an example. 2 years ago, when we started an advocacy campaign for confiscating Russian assets, nobody believed in it. And we worked with many small steps in all the directions to get where we are right now, when the G7 summit that is going to be held a week after the summit in Switzerland, where we are expecting to have already a decision for the Russian frozen assets. So same here, we need to move with the many small steps, and this is what we are doing, using every and each opportunity to deliver our message, to get many people on board. And we know that this is how we come to the result. We are not anticipating that at this peace summit there would be peace deal or groundbreaking proposal, but we anticipate that maybe some of the countries from the global south will hear our point. We anticipate that maybe European partners will start taking the nuclear security more crucially, more seriously, because we know that it is a huge issue right now. We anticipate that maybe India will be participating and will understand that the grain initiatives from Ukraine have everything to do with the well-being of their people. So moving forward, we need to have as many allies and anybody who can become allies on board, and we are working towards that.
And what other specific outcomes now does President Zelensky hope to achieve from the peace summit? And do you mind, how might these contribute to a resolution of the conflict?
So first, there are 3 points that President is going to discuss on the summit. The first, as I said, was the nuclear security. The second, the grain initiatives. And the third, the exchange of the prisoners of war, everyone to everyone. If even some resolutions on those matters will be achieved, and especially the getting back our people, that will be already a huge thing for Ukrainian families. But also we will get more African countries on board. We anticipate to get countries from the global south and probably Latin America on board with these initiatives. And maybe at some point at the next steps, these countries will hear us on imposing sanctions on Russia and then stopping trading of the double purpose items with Russia. So we understand that with many countries, we are at the beginning of the path. But here we want to move on this path and getting everyone on board.
Absolutely. Kira, let me ask you about the situation in Ukraine, if you don't mind. Zelensky said that the Russian troops are also amassing in the northwest of Kharkiv. Possibly they'll try to attack from a different direction. And there are also reports that the military is looking into the conduct of the 125th Brigade, which was supposed to defend the front line in Kharkiv, in the Kharkiv region. Do we know anything more about that? Are there any results? Was there a misconduct there?
So first of all, it's not the military who are responsible for building fortifications. It's the civil part of the war to build the fortifications properly. And right now, of course, we are looking at the way at which way those fortifications were built. This is why there are many investigations conducted, and we hope that we will find people who should have done a better job in building the fortifications. On another side, we also see that Russia never gave up on any of their plans. They have seen very clearly that there was a 7-month delay for receiving, for voting for the aid. And right now we only start receiving the weapons that we needed badly a while ago. So they know that. And they using this opportunity right now to attack us while the empowerments are coming. So it was very much expected because it was a public information that we were not receiving the supposed weapons beforehand. So we understand that, and we are working very hard right now to stop their plans. But I can tell you that another side of this is that Russia continues every single night attacking our critical infrastructure and Ukrainian energy grid in a very, very dire situation. So we are preparing right now for the winter because if it's like today in Kyiv, we had energy outage just an hour before this show, and I was wondering if I will have electricity so I can talk to you. So you can imagine, even if in summer, where it should be easier, we are already that weak. So what will happen in winter? This is why we are also calling on our allies to help us with the particles for the transformators and with certain pieces, so we can fix the energy delivery in Ukraine. So the war is on, and I can tell you that we are organized and we are doing everything from our side as before to make sure that we win, to make sure that we are standing, that we are fighting back. We appreciate everyone who's supporting us, but the truth is that we need more, and we need to switch this perception of our allies to helping Ukraine fighting the war to letting us winning the war. And for that, we will need much more of the air defense systems, much more of the weapons to push Russia back and to make sure that they will never be able to attack us again.
And like you mentioned, this mindset shift coming from the allies is very much needed. And in fact, now NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg have reiterated that today, in fact. He mentioned that the allies have not delivered what they promised at the NATO Parliamentary Assembly spring session in Sofia. He mentioned that because of the fact that allies have not delivered what they have promised, it had consequences on the ground, and because of that now Ukrainians did not get supplies, and this made it hard for Ukraine to defend their land. So having that in mind, what do you think now of the words of General Jens Stoltenberg, and do you think that this might be perhaps a breakthrough now and it might open the eyes of the allies once and for all?
We can only hope that it will be this point. But we learned here in Ukraine that though we appreciate all the promises from our allies, it could take up to a year for a political promise to become actually weapons in the hands of Ukrainian soldiers. So what we are waiting for the NATO to agree that we can use the weapons that we are holding right now against Russia on their territory. Let me explain this. Kharkiv is right now 40, sometimes 50 kilometers from Russian border where the battlefield is right now, and Russia is able to attack people very quickly. So there is not even an air raid siren so people can go and hide. It just happens like this. And with the ballistic missiles, with our kids. So to stop them just from killing us, we need to attack them on Russian territory. And this is what we need to do. And the blockage that is right now on using the weapons on Russian territory is just something that allows Russia to kill us. So we need this blockage to be lifted. And this is what we hope from the Parliamentary Assembly that is in Sofia to have this decision. And we hope that all the allies will come to it. It's not that we want to take some land from Russia or attack Russia. We want to defend ourselves and our people.
Right, Kira, and if we take a closer look at the sort of approach of some countries or some politicians specifically, we have, for instance, Germany, right? I mean, it has been contributing significantly, supporting Ukraine significantly when it comes to funding. However, Chancellor Olaf Scholz is skeptical, right, about the use of certain weapons. He's against sending the Taurus missiles. So. How do you explain this discrepancy in their behavior, right? Because it's sort of, it seems strange, right?
I think it is an illusion that is very much supported by Russia, that there is some kind of escalation that is coming if our allies will do everything that they need to do for us to win the war. Russia is sending this narrative all the time. And if you go back with me to the beginning of the full-scale invasion, this is how they were blocking us from getting wide-range missiles, fighter jets, tanks, everything. They say, you do that and there would be an escalation. But the truth is that we are trying to deliver to our allies, like, what are you afraid of? It is us that should be afraid of like any kind of escalation. But we know that Russia already went full speed all ahead to destroy us. So we say, give us the ability to defend us. But Russia is still has very strong position in the minds of many politicians and still is able to threat the democratic world. We are saying, look, if Russia had anything, in their back pockets, they would already have used that to get Kharkiv, to attack Kiev, but they are not, because their possibilities are almost also limited. So this is why we are saying, like, do not believe in their threats. Believe in what you see as facts. And the facts are, once we are getting the weapons that we need, we are very effective and very efficient with that. We are able to push Russia very hard. We are able to get our territories back. We are able to protect our people and security of the whole Europe. So just help us do that.
And the UK, for instance, seems to understand that, especially as now Cameron, I believe, mentioned that definitely UK is facilitating also the use of weaponry by Ukraine as they choose it. But not all, of course, no, as we mentioned, not all countries believe that. So why do you think we see this kind of a disproportion between the approach of, for instance, the UK and Germany and the US as such?
I think it's mostly related to understanding that after Second World War, one empire was destroyed and the other empire remained. And the countries who understand clearly that Russia and Soviet Union were just empires and Putin is trying to build it back, then the countries tend to be more dedicated to destroying Russia. For the countries that are still not believing it, it is a very different situation. But let me tell you, as Poles, that the closer countries are to the Russian border, the better they remember what it was under the Soviet Union, the more they are supporting Ukraine because they know what we are fighting against. They know what's going to come if Russia is given any weakness when they are pushing forward. So let me use this opportunity again to thank Poland for all the support that you are getting us and that you have no doubt at any time that we are fighting for the right thing and that we need to win this war.
Thank you, Kira, for being with us this morning. I do hope that this summit in Switzerland will be fruitful and that will sort of bring some politicians to the same page with those who are vocal and very much supportive of Ukraine. Thank you and have a good day.
Thank you.